Hey, what's up guys? We're back in the shop working on Frank's car. Today we're going to finish up a few little things we need to get the car driving. We're going to talk about the radiator plumbing, the drive shaft, and the shifter. There's a little bit of wiring that still needs to be done, but we should have the car driving today. So for the T56 shifter, what you want to do, don't bolt the transmission cross member to the chassis yet. Let it hang, and once you get your center console removed, you can go ahead and stick your shifter up through from the bottom and get it bolted in place, and then you can check for clearance from the top. You may have to do a little clearancing on the lever or a little bending of the lever, but it's good to check first in case you need to do anything before you silicone down the shifter to the transmission. So as far as the drive shaft on a T56, you got a slip yoke at the front. This is a 1350 3.5 inch drive shaft. Just go ahead and overbuild it from the start. You never have to worry about it again. On a 325i, they use a companion flange style rear yoke, so it's pretty easy to make an adapter. Garrett made up this adapter so we could use a 1350 style companion flange, a splicer part. The 335i's and the 330i's all have a different yoke on the diff, so there's a few different combinations you have to do. A lot of guys will take the stock drive shaft and just add a slip yoke at the front or whatever matches their transmission. If you have a TR6060, there's no slip yoke. It's a 3-bolt flange and there's an adapter available, but then you need to get a slip style drive shaft. There's a couple different versions. The aluminum kind is the strongest option, but it's the most expensive. You can also get one that has a slip style yoke in the middle of the shaft, like would be used on a front wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. You can also get a steel drive shaft with a slip yoke at the back or the front. Those are commonly used on 4x4 applications on the front axle. There's a few different options. So quickest way to get up and running if you're using a slip yoke, just adapt the rear flange or add a new slip yoke at the front of your existing drive shaft. So with your center console out, you can see where the shifter would line up in the stock hole. And what shifter is this? This is a B&M? B&M. This is a B&M.
What is it? What's first?
Yeah.
Not bolted down.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Reverse, probably hard to get to because reverse lockout. Yeah, we'd have to take the reverse lockout solenoid out, but I think it's gonna work. Don't have to trim anything. So with this B&M shifter, seems to work really good. No trimming. Transmission pretty well centered up in the tunnel. We have the motor adjusted all the way forward in this case, since we have the F-body accessory drive brackets. You can see the bolts all the way forward on the mounts. Works out really well for the T56 combo. Right in the stock hole, no trimming at all.
Dynamat and then.
So this is out of the F-body?
Yeah.
This is the T56 seal that goes around the tunnel on an F-body around the shifter hole. So what we're thinking is we can cut this flat off. So this will seal right against this area, and we can put some sealant and then a couple bolts to hold it down. And then this gets tied around the shifter, seal everything up. So once you have it trimmed out to the flat, flat area sits right on the stock flange and seems to work pretty good. Just gonna put a little sealant underneath the rubber, put a couple screws in it. Ideally you'd want a little flange that would bolt down to hold it sealed. It might be something I can come up with in the future. So we're using some seal all contact adhesive on here. Put a bead around this, a bead around the bottom of the boot because it's contact adhesive, so it's got to be on both sides. it on to hold it down. So with the stock automatic shifter cover, the shifter lever needs to be bent a little bit straight. This has an offset to the driver's side. We can still get the gears, but first is up against the plastic. So what we're gonna do is straighten the shifter bar out a little bit of heat, and it should be good. Tall shifter on here definitely be helpful too, so you're not super close to the center console, like a 4-inch tall shifter. So if you're swapping a automatic car and you're going to manual, what you need to do is find an OEM clutch pedal and master cylinder assembly. So you have two options when putting this in the car. You can either remove this entire assembly from the car, so you need to remove where the brake pedal would hook up to the brake master cylinder. Then there's two bolts here, or what you can do is just remove this clutch pedal, which is held on by a clip that's on the main assembly shaft, and two bolts to hold this master cylinder on, and you can install the clutch pedal and master cylinder assembly on your existing bracket, because these brackets are the same between the manual and automatic. So if you look up underneath the dash, you'll see this pivot point is already there. So you can just drop this assembly into your car. So this is the assembly pulled off of the bracket. You got the master cylinder, the two bolts, the two nuts. Go ahead and run a piece of line on here now that you're gonna run up and out the firewall. The spring and the clip. You got the clip, the bushing, and the nuts for the back side of the master cylinder. Master cylinder side, the adapter you're going to get is actually a 4AN clutch adapter for a TR6060. That's what you're going to look up to find this. It uses the same type of fitting as the BMW did, and this will just go and pop in to the BMW master cylinder. So that adapts at the 4AN, the trans is adapted to 4AN. You just need the piece of line to go from one end to the other. With the lower radiator hose, there's a few different ways you can go about doing this. But what you're going to want to do is take one of the quick disconnects off one of the stock hoses, cut the clamp, remove it, and then you're going to need a section of hose that's going to make it from the lower radiator up to your thermostat housing. All this is the top of an F-body hose cut off, left about 5 inches of straight and a 45, and it's about 2 inches on either end. That way it'll fit over a thermostat housing and clamp down onto here. So there you can see the hose on there. We snapped it on the radiator, slid it up on the thermostat housing, tightened the hose clamp, and that's pretty much good to go. So the lower hose, upper hoses are done. Finished up all of our radiator plumbing. There was one more port on the bottom of the radiator that we plumbed just like the other oil cooler fitting by cutting the factory hose off and using a cap and a permaclamp. So we're gonna fill this thing up with some antifreeze now. Water. No, it's coming out of the motor. Oh, no plug in this passenger head. Yeah. I'm gonna try to move this thing for the first time. We just set up the drive-by-wire and the fans to come on. I'm gonna pull it out of the shop first time. You ready, Frank?
Yep.
Let's do it. Try this again. We had the brake booster off, the fans weren't plugged in, so little stuff, getting everything ironed out. Man. It lit it up. It did it with ease. Let's go. That's gonna do it for the third video. We're gonna make a few more in this series to cover some of the more advanced topics. We're gonna break down the costs that we have in this car, so you have a basic idea what you'll have into a swap. We still need to cover some suspension issues, maybe getting the Terminator screen mounted up here somewhere. We're gonna swap out the center console boot for a manual boot, so this shifter clears a little better. Then we're gonna go through the fabrication process as far as the rear turbo system that we're gonna build for this car. So it's gonna get a Precision 7665 in the stock muffler location. We're gonna run the cold side back up front with a scavenge pump out back. And then we'll get some shots of this thing on the dyno and see what it puts down. If there's any specific questions that anybody has as far as this swap goes, I'm going to try to cover everything I can to make it as simple as possible. So leave your questions down in the comments down below, and we'll catch you guys next time.